The dead pilot's name was still glowing on the memorial wall when her jet roared to life behind it. Ava Carter, gone 9 years, buried at 17, and now her call sign was back on the radar and the runway lights were burning hot for a ghost. Before we go any further, hit that subscribe button and stay with me all the way to the end, because this story hits different. Drop the city you're watching from in the comments. I want to see how far Ava's name travels tonight. Because what happened next on that Arizona airbase, nobody, not one soul, was ready for. The memorial had been going for 22 minutes when the roar came. Colonel Mark Reyes was halfway through reading the names. He'd made it to the C's. He always made it to the C's before his voice started to crack, and tonight was no different. His hands held the paper steady, but his knuckles were white. Sergeant Luis Cabrera, Lieutenant Jonah Carroll, Lieutenant Ava Carter. That was when the engines lit up. Not a backfire, not a generator, a full afterburner scream from the west hangar where nothing had flown in 9 years. Reyes stopped reading. He didn't look up from the paper. His lips kept moving like the name was still caught in his throat. "What the hell was that?" someone muttered in the second row. "Generator." "That ain't no generator." Colonel Bishop was already on his feet, one hand on his radio. "Tower, this is Bishop. What just went hot on the west apron?" Static. Then a voice, young, scared. Sir, we didn't authorize anything. Nothing was scheduled." "Then what am I hearing, son?" "Sir, I'm looking at the board. Hangar 6 just opened. From the inside." Bishop's radio hand dropped an inch. "Say that again." "Hangar 6 opened from the inside, sir. We didn't do it." Here. The first person to move was Frank Doyle, 71 years old. Knees shot, back worse. Frank had been a mechanic on this base when Reagan was president, and he hadn't cried at a memorial in 15 years because he'd cried himself out a long time ago. He rose out of that folding chair like something had yanked him by the shirt collar, and he started walking toward the hangars before anyone could stop him. "Frank," Reyes called after him. "Frank, sit down." "Mark, that's her engine." "Frank, that's her engine." Reyes turned finally and looked at the sky over the west side of the base. A thin wash of heat was rising off the hangar line. His own face went the color of old paper. "No," he said, quiet, like a man talking to himself. "No, no, no." The crowd was starting to stand. Families who'd come to honor their dead young airmen who'd never heard Ava Carter's voice, but had heard her stories. Everybody was turning toward the west, toward a sound that shouldn't exist. An F-16 they'd sealed 9 years ago, tail number 17, nicknamed Ghost 17 after she went down over the Gulf. That aircraft had been bolted shut, dedicated, mothballed, turned into a monument on wheels. It was moving. Tower radio full blast, Bishop's voice snapping like a whip. "Scramble the security detail. I want armed personnel on that runway right now. Nobody takes that bird off the ground." "Colonel, we don't have a pilot log." "I know we don't have a pilot log. That's the problem." "Sir, we've got a signal." "A what?" "A call sign, sir, on the board." Bishop went still. "Read it." There was a beat of silence on the line that felt like it lasted a year. "Sir, Ghost 17, active." Bishop's mouth moved without sound. Then very carefully, like he was trying not to drop the words, "Tower, that call sign was retired in 2017. The pilot is deceased. That is not possible." "Sir, I'm looking at it." "Then somebody hacked our board." "Sir, it's not just the board. The aircraft is broadcasting. It's pinging transponder. It's her code." "Her code?" "Yes, sir." "Her personal identifier." "Yes, sir. It's her." Bishop closed his eyes. Behind him, about 40 feet away, Diane Carter was starting to shake. Diane hadn't wanted to come tonight. She came every year anyway. For 9 years, she had worn the same black cardigan and the same cheap pearl earrings Ava had given her for Mother's Day the summer before the crash. She'd sat in the front row and she'd cried quietly, and she'd gone home and not slept, and that was the deal she'd made with herself. Come, sit, leave, survive. She was on her feet now, and her son Ethan was holding her elbow, and she was asking the question no one around her wanted to answer. Ethan, why are they saying her name?" "Mom, why are they saying her name on the radio?" "Mom, sit down. Who's in that plane?" "Mom, I don't know." "Who is in my daughter's plane?" Ethan, 34, steady, a man who had spent almost a decade being the calm one in this family, had nothing. He stood there with his hand under his mother's elbow and his mouth open and no words coming out. Frank Doyle walked past them at a dead run, or as close to a run as Frank could manage. His cap fell off and he didn't stop for it. "Frank," Diane called after him. Frank, who is it?" Frank didn't turn around. He was crying openly and he didn't care who saw. It's her, Diane, he shouted back. Lord help us, it's her. Inside the cockpit, Ava Carter's gloved hand was steady on the stick. She hadn't said a word yet. Her headset was live. She was listening to every panicked voice in the tower, every shouted order, every confused whisper, and she wasn't responding to any of it. She was running through a pre-flight checklist from memory, a checklist that was 9 years old on an aircraft that should not have functioned, and the checklist was working. Every switch she flipped answered back like the jet had been waiting for her. She mouthed the items as she went. Fuel, clear. Hydraulics, clear. Canopy, sealed. Her throat was dry. She reached up and touched the faded photograph taped to the inside of the canopy frame. Her at 15 grinning. Her dad beside her. He'd been dead a year longer than she'd been dead. Okay, Daddy, she whispered. One more time. She keyed the mic. She didn't say her name. She just said, Tower Ghost 17 requesting clearance. Bio. The tower went silent. Not quiet. Silent. The kind of silent where you can hear the hum of the consoles and the sweat dripping off somebody's jaw. The young airman on the comms, his name was Ruiz. He was 22 years old and he joined this base 4 months ago. He put both hands on the edge of his desk and forgot how to breathe. Tower, the voice said again. Calm, a little tired. A woman's voice. Ghost 17 requesting clearance. Ruiz pressed the transmit button. His voice came out shaking. Ghost 17, identify. There was a pause. Then, you know who this is? Ma'am, I need you to identify. Ruiz, is that Ruiz? Ruiz's hand came off the transmit. He looked at his supervisor who was looking at Bishop, who was looking at the floor like the floor had personally betrayed him. How does she know my name? Ruiz whispered. She doesn't, Bishop said, because she's not real. Sir, she said my name. She's not real, airman. Bishop grabbed the mic himself. Unknown aircraft, this is Colonel Bishop, base commander. You are in a restricted vehicle on a restricted airfield. You will power down and exit the cockpit immediately or you will be removed. Do you copy? Silence. Then softly, almost like she was smiling. Hi, Bishop, I heard they gave you the chair. Bishop let go of the mic like it burned him. Out on the tarmac, Reyes was running. He hadn't run in years. His left knee had been shot since the second Gulf deployment, and he'd bargained with it for 2 decades, and tonight he broke the bargain. He ran straight across the memorial grounds, past the folding chairs, past the families, turning to watch him, past the junior officers calling out, Sir, 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 and he didn't stop until he hit the security cordon by the runway. 2 MPs stepped in front of him. Sir, you can't. I'm her instructor pilot. Sir, I said I'm her instructor pilot. Move. Colonel Reyes, we have orders. She is 26 years old, and she is in my airplane, and you are going to move. The MPs looked at each other. One of them, the younger one, stepped aside half an inch. The older one, calmer, didn't. Colonel, respectfully, she's not 26, she's deceased. Reyes stared at him. Son, he said, if she's deceased, then explain to me what I'm looking at. Over on the runway, the F-16 was taxiing, smooth, unhurried. A pilot who had done this 10,000 times in her sleep. The old mechanic's voice came cracking over the base channel because Frank had talked his way into a handset somewhere, and nobody had the heart to stop him. She's doing the rollout exactly the way I taught her. Exactly. That's her. Mark, that's her. I'd bet my life on it. Reyes closed his eyes. I already bet mine, he said. Zab. Diane Carter broke through the crowd. A 20-year-old sergeant tried to hold her back, and Diane, 58 years old, 5'3", widow mother of a dead girl, shoved him with both hands and he staggered. That's my daughter's plane, she said. You get out of my way. Ma'am, you get out of my way. Ethan caught up breathless. Let her through, please. Let her through. They let her through. She walked to the edge of the runway, and the wind off the taxiway pulled her hair sideways, and she stood there staring at a jet that had been dead as long as her daughter had been dead, and she pressed her hand flat against her own chest like she was trying to hold her heart inside her ribs. Ava, she said. The jet stopped moving. Not abruptly, gently, like someone had just been asked a very hard question and needed a second. The tower heard it on the channel, a tiny hitch of breath. The pilot didn't key the mic on purpose. She'd forgotten the live line. It was just a breath, a single caught breath, audible over the radio, and then a whispered word barely there. Mom. Bishop sat down. He sat down on the floor of the tower back against the console, and he put his face in his hands and he said to nobody, Oh God, oh my God. Ruiz was openly crying now. He kept his hand on the transmit button without pressing it. The supervisor leaned down. Colonel, sir, what are your orders? Bishop didn't answer. Sir, I don't know. Sir, we have to give the runway team an order. They're armed. They're waiting. I don't know, Jansen. Sir, if that's really her, then somebody lied to us for 9 years. Jansen stopped. Somebody, Bishop said slowly, buried an empty coffin on my base, and I read her name. Tonight, 15 minutes ago, I read her name out loud in front of her mother. He stood up. He took the mic. Ghost 17, he said. Ava, if that's you, talk to me. In the cockpit, Ava had her eyes closed. She'd heard her mother say her boss, and it had hit her in a place she thought she'd caught her eyes shut. 9 years. 9 years of watching Christmas photos on a burner laptop from a safe house she wasn't supposed to be in. 9 years of knowing her mother was crying and not being allowed to pick up the phone. 9 years of being told, you are more useful to us dead, Carter. Her jaw locked. She opened her eyes. She keyed the mic. Bishop, I'm here, kid. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Just talk to me. Why are you in my jet? Because there's no other way to come home. What does that mean, Ava? It means if I walked in through the gate tonight, your base would have been the second place they killed me. The first was 9 years ago. Bishop breathed in slow. They. You know who they are? Ava. You always knew, Bishop. Kid. You knew something wasn't right about my crash. You told Reyes once and he told me. Years later, after they pulled me in, Bishop leaned his forehead against the mic. Ava, please, shut down the engine. Come out of the bird. We'll figure it out together. There's people here who want to see your face. Silence. Then, I can't get out yet. Why not? Because if I get out before I say my piece on this channel, they will bury it. They will make me dead a second time, and this time they will make it stick. Say what piece, Ava? All of it. Reyes was on the runway itself now. He'd pushed past the MPs. He was standing 50 feet from the nose of the F-16, and his hands were up, palms open, because every instinct in his body told him to approach her the way you approach a spooked horse. She couldn't hear him from inside the cockpit, but she could see him. And through the canopy, through the glare, Colonel Mark Reyes saw a face he had last seen at 17 years old, and she was looking right at him. He said one word. He mouthed it because he didn't have breath for more. Kid. She put her gloved hand flat against the canopy glass. He put his hand up to match it from 50 feet away. And Frank Doyle, 71 years old, standing behind the cordon, collapsed onto his knees on the tarmac and wept into his palms like a man who had been holding his breath for 9 years and had finally been allowed to let it out. Bishop's voice came back on the channel quieter now. Ava? Yeah. Before you say your piece, I need you to understand something. Okay. Your mother is on the runway. A long pause. I know. She heard you. I know. She's been here every year, kid. Every single year. Ava's voice didn't break, but something underneath it did. Bishop, don't. Every year, Ava. I said don't. Every year she sat in the front row and she listened to me read your name. Bishop, please. I just need you to know that before you decide what kind of story you tell tonight. There was a very long silence on the line. Then Ava Carter, 26 years old, the girl they had buried at 17, the girl who had spent almost a decade being a weapon in someone else's hand, spoke into the microphone with a voice that was no longer steady. I'm not telling a story, Bishop. Then what are you doing? I'm giving back the one they stole. She keyed off. The canopy didn't open yet. The engines didn't die. The jet sat there on the taxiway with its nose pointed east toward the runway, and inside it, a woman who was supposed to be dead was staring at her mother and her mentor across 50 feet of concrete and 9 years of grief. And somewhere in a building 3,000 miles away on a secure line, nobody on this base knew existed, a phone started ringing. A man in a dark suit answered it. He listened for 4 seconds. Then he said very quietly, find out who let her flee. The phone in the dark suit man's hand clicked off 3 seconds after the order left his mouth, and 2,000 miles to the west, in a windowless office 1 floor above the tower, Ava Carter was staring up at another phone began to buzz. The man who picked it up was wearing a colonel's uniform. He wasn't Bishop. He was Deputy Commander Gerald Hawk, 49 career intelligence liaison, the kind of officer who nobody ever saw at the memorials because he was always on a call somewhere else. He'd been in his office the entire evening. He hadn't come down for the ceremony. He hadn't read any names. He looked at the number on the screen and he closed his eyes for 1 full second. Then he picked up. Go. You know who this is? Yes. How did she get on that base? I don't know yet. Hawk, think very carefully about your next sentence. Hawk swallowed. She was supposed to stay dark another 18 months. Minimum. There is no scenario in the playbook where she surfaces like this. Then she's not on the playbook anymore. Sir, if I move on her tonight on this base in front of her mother and her instructor, pilot, and a live radio. Hawk. Sir, if she opens her mouth in the next 10 minutes, every operation that girl ran for 9 years gets unsealed. Every asset, every name, every family. Do you understand what I am saying to you? Hawk's hand was shaking. Yes, sir. Then you do what you have to do. The line went dead. Hawk sat there for 10 seconds with the phone still pressed to his ear. Then he stood up, walked to the safe behind his desk, and started turning the dial. Down on the tarmac, Reyes still had his hand up against the air, and Ava still had her glove flat against the canopy, and neither of them was moving. The engines idled. The sound had dropped from a scream to a low patient growl, like something alive was breathing inside that jet and waiting to be told whether to live or die. Diane Carter was still standing at the edge of the runway. Ethan had his arm around her shoulders now, and he wasn't letting go. Mom, listen to me. We don't know what this is yet. It's her. Mom, don't you tell me it isn't her. I carried that girl for 9 months. I know her breathing. Mom, the radio could be spoofed. The plane could be... Ethan, look at me. He looked at her. She said Mom, Diane whispered. On the radio, she said Mom. Ethan's jaw worked. He was a paramedic in Phoenix. He spent his life telling families calm, reasonable things that their hearts refused to accept. He had no defense for his own mother's face right now. Okay, he said. Okay, it's her. Thank you. Mom, if it's her... I know. Mom, if it's her, then somebody lied. I know, Ethan. Up in the tower, Bishop had the mic in his hand, and he was trying very hard not to let his voice carry what he was feeling. Ava, you still there? Still here. You said you came to give back the story. Yes. Then give it. Fast, because I'm telling you as a friend, as somebody who used to buy you birthday cake, you don't have long. I know I don't. Then talk, kid. There was a breath on the channel. Then she started. 9 years ago, I was 17 years old. I was the youngest pilot ever cleared on this airframe, and I flew a training sortie out of this base on August 11th. You remember Bishop? I remember. I was supposed to be home by 1900. My mother was making lasagna. Diane's hand went to her mouth. I never came home. We know, Ava. You don't know. That's the whole point. You think you know. You buried a coffin. You read a eulogy. My mentor. Her voice caught just barely. My mentor blamed himself for a decade because he signed off on a solo hop for a 17-year-old. Frank Doyle stopped sleeping. My brother dropped out of med school for 2 years. You think you know. Frank Doyle was still on his knees on the tarmac. He put a hand over his face. Tell me what actually happened, kid. My jet didn't malfunction, Bishop. My jet was pulled. Pulled. There was a team waiting for me over the Gulf. They guided me off course. They gave me a civilian vector. I followed it because I was 17 and I trusted the voice in my headset. I sat down on a private strip in Texas 40 minutes later. There were 3 men on that runway. One of them handed me a folder. One of them handed me a new name. One of them told me my mother would receive a flag in 6 days. Bishop's eyes closed. Jesus Christ. I said no, Bishop. I want that on the record. I said no 3 times. And then what? And then they told me my brother had just been offered a full ride to Johns Hopkins pending a security review. And my mother's mortgage had just been flagged for reassessment. And my instructor pilot, Reyes, was 2 months from a promotion that required a clean record. And a dead student is a cleaner record than a live scandal. Reyes, down on the runway, physically rocked backward like somebody had hit him in the chest. They threatened my family, Bishop. They threatened everyone I loved. And they gave me 10 minutes to sign. You signed. I signed. There was a silence on the channel. Then Ava's voice again, lower, harder. I have been working for them for 9 years. I have flown in airspace that does not exist on any map. I have been in rooms with men whose names will never be declassified. I have put rounds into targets whose deaths were reported as heart attacks, car accidents, bad luck. I have been very, very good at my job. Ava. And 8 days ago, I was ordered to kill a man I had no business killing. Something cold moved through the tower. Who? A journalist. Ava. American citizen. 41 years old. 2 kids. He was about to publish on the program that recruited me. The program that took me. And my handler told me to make it look like a home invasion. Ava, don't say any more on an open channel. Bishop, the whole reason I'm on an open channel is so I can't unsay it. The supervisor Jansen next to Bishop grabbed his arm. Sir, we have a problem. Not now, Jansen. Sir, the power grid to Hangar 6 just went live. Somebody is rerouting from the east side. Who? I can't, sir. The override is coming from the DC office. Bishop went still. Hawk's office. Yes, sir. Hawk is not on base tonight. Sir, Hawk is on base. He never left. Bishop stared at him. Get me eyes on that office, right now. Down on the tarmac, Reyes didn't know any of this yet. He was still standing 50 feet from the nose of the jet, and his legs were shaking, and he was speaking out loud even though Ava couldn't hear him. Kid, you listen to me. Frank crawled up beside him. Frank was actually crawling. His knees weren't cooperating. Mark, what do we do? I don't know, Frank. She's gonna say something she can't take back. She already has. Mark. Frank, she already has. On the other side of the cordon, a new set of boots hit the runway. 4 of them, armed, moving fast, not base security, something else. The younger MP who had stepped aside for Reyes earlier, the one who let Diane through, turned and saw them coming, and his face changed. Sir, he said, those aren't ours. Reyes turned. The 4 men approaching wore base uniforms, but the patches were wrong, and they were moving in a formation that no base security team in North America trained. Reyes had been in the service 31 years. He knew an entry team when he saw one. Frank, he said, I see them. Frank, get Diane off the runway. Mark, now Frank. Up in the cockpit, Ava was still talking. I have names, Bishop. I have dates. I have transfer numbers. I have 3 flash drives buried in places you will never find without me. And if I come out of this cockpit without promises on a recorded line, every one of those drives burns. What promises, Ava? 3. Name them. My mother is not harmed. Done. My brother is not harmed. Done. Frank Doyle and Mark Reyes get the truth about August 11th in writing tonight before the sun comes up. Bishop hesitated. Bishop, kid, I can promise the first 2. The third is above my head. Then put someone on this line whose head it is under. Ava, put them on the line, Bishop. Bishop looked at Jansen. Jansen looked back at him with the expression of a man who had just realized the building was burning. Sir, Hawk's office just opened comms on our frequency. What? Hawk is patching in. He's about to talk to her. Block him. Sir, he has override. Block him, Jansen. Sir, I can't. There was a click on the channel. A new voice came through, smooth, practiced. The voice of a man who had never raised it in his life and never needed to. Ava, it's Jerry. The pause in the cockpit was absolute, then very quiet. You son of a bitch. Ava, listen to me. You son of a bitch, Jerry. Ava, I know you're angry. You were on base this whole time. Ava, you were in that building. You watched my mother sit through 9 of my memorials. You watched Reyes age 10 years. You sat in your office with the blinds down and you watched. Ava, put the jet on idle and let's talk. There's nothing to talk about, Jerry. Ava, the man you were ordered to handle 8 days ago, the journalist, he was not who you were told he was. A small, terrible laugh came over the channel. There it is. Ava, there's the pitch. I wondered how long it'd take you. Ava, he had ties. He had a daughter who plays soccer, Jerry. I watched her practice for 2 weeks. I watched him pick her up every Tuesday. I watched him kiss his wife on the porch. I watched his whole life because that's what you trained me to do, and then I was supposed to end it and go home and sleep. Ava, I am not doing it anymore. Ava, we can still fix this. You can't fix this? Ava, there are ways, Jerry. Yes. Step outside the tower. What? Step outside. I want to see you on the tarmac with your hands where I can see them. Silence. Jerry. Ava, that's not going to happen. Then you already know how this ends. Bishop ripped the mic out of Jansen's hand. Ava, don't do anything. You hear me. Stand down. Bishop, I'm not going to do anything. I already did it. What does that mean? It means the drives went live 7 minutes ago. Hawk's voice came back sharp, now the smoothness gone. Ava, what did you just say? I said the drives went live, Jerry, 7 minutes ago, the moment I started taxiing. You want to know why I came home in this jet on this night at this memorial? Because I needed witnesses. I needed my mentor. I needed my mother. I needed Frank. And I needed you on this base in person with no way to pretend you weren't here. Ava, You're already in it, Jerry. Every file, every transfer, every kill order with your signature block. It's already out. To who? Not telling you. Ava to who? 3 journalists, 2 senators, 1 federal judge, and the widow of the man I was supposed to kill last Tuesday. Hawk made a sound on the channel that wasn't a word. On. The 4 men moving across the tarmac started moving faster. Reyes saw them pick up the pace and he moved too. He moved toward the nose of Ava's jet, arms out body between her and them, and he started yelling. Hey, you 4 stand down. This is a restricted airfield. They didn't stop. Frank Doyle, 71 years old, had dragged Diane back behind the cordon and was now stumbling back onto the tarmac himself, holding a torque wrench he'd picked up off a tool cart. A torque wrench against 4 armed men. Frank, no, Reyes shouted. Mark, get out of the way. Frank, get out of the way. Mark, that's my kid in that plane. The lead man in the approaching team raised his rifle, and that was when Bishop's voice came over the bass. PAA, not the radio, the full PA, every speaker on the installation, and he said the sentence that changed the night. All security personnel, this is Colonel Bishop. The 4 individuals moving on the flight line are not authorized. Repeat, not authorized. Detain on site. Weapons free if they resist. That is a direct order. The base froze for about a second and a half. Then about 30 MPS moved at once. The 4 men turned to run, and they didn't get 20 feet. Up in the tower, Bishop turned to Jansen. Where is Hawk? Sir, his office door is locked from the inside. Get it open. Sir, break it down. Jansen was already moving. Bishop keyed the mic calmer now. Ava, I'm here. You can come out of the jet, kid. Not yet. Ava, the men on the tarmac are in custody. Your deputy commander is about to be. It's over. Bishop. Yeah, it's not over. What do you mean? Hawk is a mid-level. He's not the one who built this. Then who is? I don't know. I've never seen the face. I've only ever heard the voice. Voice on what? On the secure line. Every assignment for 9 years. American, yes. Military once, not anymore. Too high for uniform now. Ava, you are describing a man who can end your life with a phone call. I know what I'm describing, Bishop. Then why in God's name did you come up in a lit cockpit with your mother on the runway? A long pause. Then, because if I didn't do it in front of her, she was going to die believing I died at 17. And I couldn't let her die believing that. Not one more year. The channel went quiet. Diane Carter behind the cordon could not hear this part, but she was watching the cockpit, and she saw her daughter's head tip forward just slightly, and she saw her daughter's shoulders move, the way her daughter's shoulders had moved at age 8 when the cat died, and she was trying not to cry in front of her brother. She's crying, Diane whispered. Mom, Ethan, she's crying up there. Ethan held her tighter. In the cockpit, Ava lifted her head and wiped her face on the inside of her glove. She keyed the mic one more time. Bishop. Yeah, kid. I need 1 more minute. Take it. I need you to clear the runway. Why? Because I'm shutting her down. Say again? I'm shutting her down, Bishop. I'm coming out. Bishop closed his eyes, and for the first time in 9 years, Colonel Bishop, who had read a 17-year-old's name out loud every August without fail, smiled. Copy that, go 17. The runway is yours. Bishop? Yeah, kid. Tell my mother I'm sorry. Tell her yourself. I will. I just tell her first. Please. Copy. Bishop clicked off the radio. He turned toward the window of the tower, and he looked down at the tarmac at Diane Carter, standing at the edge of the cordon, with her hand on her chest, and he leaned forward into the base PA one more time. Mrs. Carter? Her head snapped up. Mrs. Carter, your daughter says she's sorry. She wants to tell you herself. She's coming out of the aircraft. Diane Carter made a sound that didn't have a name, and out on the tarmac, the engines of Ghost 17 began to wind down the long, slow descending whine of a jet going to sleep for the last time. And inside the cockpit, a 26-year-old woman was reaching up with shaking hands to unlatch the canopy she had sealed above her head 9 years ago and had not opened since. The latch clicked. The seal hissed. The canopy began to rise. And somewhere in an office in Washington, a man in a dark suit who had no name on any roster and whose voice Ava Carter had heard on every assignment for 9 years sat down, his phone, walked to the window and said to no one in the room, "Bring me everyone who ever touched her file." The canopy lifted the rest of the way, and the whole base held its breath. Ava Carter stood up in the cockpit. Just stood up. That was all. She unclipped the harness, set the helmet on the seat behind her, and stood up with both hands on the rails of the canopy like a woman climbing out of a boat after a long, hard crossing. Her hair was shorter than her mother remembered. Her face was thinner. There was a scar above her left eyebrow that hadn't been there when she was 17. Her eyes were the same. Diane Carter took one step forward, past the cordon, and the MP didn't stop her this time. Ava. Ava heard it. She turned her head slowly and she looked down at her mother from the cockpit, and her mouth moved, but no sound came out. Ava, baby. Ava closed her eyes. She gripped the rail of the canopy tighter. I'm coming, Mama. Take your time. I'm coming. She climbed out, one leg over, then the other. Down the ladder rungs welded onto the side of a jet she hadn't touched in 9 years. Her boots hit the tarmac, and her knees almost folded. And Reyes was there. He'd already closed the 50 feet, and he caught her elbow with one hand, the way he'd caught it 100 times when she was a cadet learning to walk in a flight suit. Easy, kid. Reyes, I got you. Reyes, I'm sorry. Not now. I'm sorry. Kid, not now. Go see your mother. He pointed. Ava walked. She didn't run. She couldn't run. Her legs weren't working right. She walked across the tarmac toward her mother like a woman walking through deep water, and Diane Carter walked toward her daughter the same way. And when they met in the middle halfway between the cordon and the jet, neither of them said anything for a long time. Diane's hands went up to her daughter's face. Just her face. She held Ava's face in her hands, and she stared at her like she was reading a book that had been taken away from her 9 years ago. It's you. Yes, Mama. It's really you. Yes. I knew. Mama, I knew in my bones, baby. Every year, every August, I felt you. Ava's face cracked. Mama, I know. I couldn't call. I know, baby. I wanted to. I know. Diane pulled her daughter into her chest and held her there. And Ava, who had not cried in front of another human being in 9 years, who had been specifically trained, not to who had sat in debrief rooms with men watching her for tells, Ava cried into her mother's cardigan like she was 7 years old and something had been taken from her that she would never get back. Ethan came up behind them. He didn't say anything. He just put one hand on his mother's back and one hand on his sister's shoulder and stood there 34 years old and let his family be a family for the first time since August of the year he was supposed to start residency. Frank Doyle watched from 6 feet away. His hands were shaking. Hey, Flyer, he said when he could get the word out. Ava turned her face from her mother's shoulder. Frank, you look like hell. A half laugh came out of her. Wet. Real. Frank, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're going to be saying that a lot tonight. Get used to it. Frank, come here, kid. She did. She kept one arm around her mother, and she pulled Frank Doyle into the other, and the three of them stood there in a knot on the tarmac while 70 base personnel watched and didn't know what to do with their hands. Up in the tower, Bishop watched from the window and did not wipe his face. Jansen came back in at a dead run. Sir. Hawk. Gone. Say again. His office is empty, sir. The door was locked from the inside. The window is open. There's a fire escape ladder. Bishop turned. Fire escape from the 3rd floor of a tower, Jansen. Sir, I know how it sounds. How long of a head start? 6 minutes, maybe 7. Lock the base. Already done, sir. Every gate, every perimeter camera, every vehicle. Done, sir, but what? Sir, the motor pool reports a staff car is missing. Signed out under a name that doesn't match any officer currently on base. What name? Jansen hesitated. Sir, the name on the sign-out sheet is Ava Carter. Bishop closed his eyes. He's framing her. Sir, that's my read. Tonight, right now, while her mother is holding her on my tarmac. Yes, sir. Find that car, Jansen. Every unit on it, sir. Down on the tarmac, Ava had stepped back from her mother. She had not let go of Diane's hand, but she had turned and she was looking up at the tower and something in her face had changed. Mark, she said. Reyes was right there. What do you need, kid? Is Hawk still in that building? Reyes glanced up. Bishop was visible in the tower window. Bishop was shaking his head, just barely the way you shake your head when you don't want to alarm anybody on the ground. No, kid, he's not. Ava's jaw tightened. How long ago? Minutes. Mark. I know. He's going to make it look like me. I know. He's going to point every gun on this base at me before sunrise. He's going to try. Mark, I have to get to a secure line. Diane's grip on her daughter's hand tightened. Ava. Mama. You are not leaving my sight. Mama, I'm not leaving your sight. I swear to God, I just need a phone. Ava. Mama, I came here tonight to make sure the truth survived. I did the first part. I have to do the second part. Diane's mouth went hard. Then I'm coming with you. Mama. Ava Marie Carter, look at my face. Ava looked. I have waited 9 years to put my hands on you. I am not taking them off for a phone call. Yes, ma'am. Frank behind them barked a laugh that was half a sob. There she is. There's Diane. Frank, shut up and get my daughter inside. Yes, ma'am. They moved. A cluster of them, Ava, her mother on one side, Reyes on the other. Ethan behind Frank, limping along, crossed the tarmac toward the tower. 4 MPs fell in around them. Not to contain, to protect. The younger MP, the one who had first stepped aside for Reyes, was in front now, one hand on his sidearm, eyes scanning every rooftop. Halfway across, Ava said without looking at him, "You're new." "Ma'am, you're new to this base." 14 months, ma'am. "Who brought you in?" "Colonel Bishop, ma'am." "Not Hawk." "No, ma'am." "Good. Stay close." He nodded. He didn't ask what she meant. He had already figured it out. They hit the tower door and Bishop was waiting at the bottom of the stairs himself. He'd come down. He didn't hug her. He was a colonel and there were 30 people watching, and he had 30 years of reasons why he couldn't hug a dead girl in a flight suit on his own staircase. He shook her hand. It lasted longer than a handshake. "Go 17, he said. "Bishop." "Welcome home, kid." "Not home yet." "No, not yet. Come on." He turned and led them up the stairs 2 at a time. Frank couldn't keep up. Ethan stayed back with him. In the secure room on the 2nd floor, Bishop closed the door and turned to her. "Talk." "Hawk is running." "I know." "He's going to surface as me." "I know." "The staff car. Signed out under your name?" "Yes." Ava's eyes closed for 1 second, then open. "He's going to hit a civilian target." "Ava." "Bishop, listen to me. He's going to hit somewhere that already had me as a suspect on the books. He had at least 3 of those open last time I checked. He's going to use one tonight and burn me with it." "Which ones?" "I don't know the current list. I've been out of the loop for 8 days." "Can you guess?" "Yes." "Then guess." "The journalist." Bishop's face did something complicated. "The one you refused to kill." "Yes." "Ava." "Bishop, if Hawk hits that house tonight, I did it. On paper. In every file, and every one of those drives I dropped, everyone gets discredited in the morning news cycle as the ravings of a rogue operator who just killed a journalist and his family." "Jesus. Where does he live?" "Sacramento." "How far from here?" 12 hours by car." "He's not driving 12 hours." "No, wait, he has a plane." "Probably." "Bishop, I'm already on it." Bishop grabbed the landline. He dialed a number he clearly knew from memory. "This is Bishop at Kirtland, Arizona. I need a priority bulletin to every FBO within 200 miles. Any unscheduled departure in the next 60 minutes. Any pilot, any tail number. I want eyes. Full stop." He hung up. He picked up again. "Get me Sacramento PD, emergency line." He paused, waiting. Ava turned to her mother. Diane was sitting in the chair by the door with both hands in her lap, and she was looking at her daughter with an expression that was no longer crying. It had moved past crying into something harder. "Mama, go." "Mama, I may have to, Ava, I said go. I love you. I have loved you every second of 9 years. Mama, go save that family." Ava moved. She crossed to Bishop. "Give me the phone when Sacramento picks up." "Kid, you can't." "I can. I know the address. I know the wife's name. I know the kid's soccer schedule. If you want a patrol car at that house in 7 minutes, I'm the one who makes that call." Bishop handed her the phone. Sacramento picked up. "Sacramento Police Emergency. My name is Ava Carter. I'm a federal asset calling from Kirtland, Arizona Air Force Base. I am on a recorded military line. I need a welfare check and protective detail dispatched immediately to 2847 Linden Crescent, Sacramento. The resident's name is David Moreno. His wife is Claire. They have 2 children. There is a credible threat on that home in the next 40 to 90 minutes. I am requesting full protective posture." A stunned beat. "Ma'am, I'll need you to..." "Dispatcher, I am on a line with Colonel Anthony Bishop, Base Commander, Kirtland, Arizona. He will verify. Please dispatch first. Verify after." A pause. "Units dispatching." "Thank you." "Ma'am, stay on the line." "I can't. Get your units there. Keep the family inside. No one answers the door unless it's your uniforms. Not neighbors, not delivery, not Air Force officers. No one." "Ma'am, please trust me. Please." She hung up. Bishop stared at her. Kid, don't. Kid, you just put your real name on a civilian emergency line. I know. You just put it on tape. I know, Bishop. You are no longer deniable Ava. I haven't been deniable for 15 minutes. I don't want to be deniable. I want every person in this country who thinks I'm a ghost to know that Ava Carter is alive and she is standing up. Bishop looked at her for a long second. Then he said very quietly, your father would be proud of you. Ava's eyes went shiny. She didn't let it fall. Don't, Bishop. I'm saying it. Don't. I'm saying it anyway. Behind them, Diane was wiping her face. Ethan had come in with Frank. Nobody spoke. The door burst open. Jansen. Sir, we got him. Hawk, private airstrip 20 miles east. Called in by an FBO attendant who said a colonel he'd never seen before was trying to board a Cessna with no flight plan filed. Local sheriff got there first. They have him in cuffs. Bishop exhaled. Live, sir. Good. Sir, there's something else. What? He had a phone on him, burner, one number in the call log. Trace it. Already did, sir. And, sir, the number routes through a private exchange. It's registered to a firm on K Street in D.C. The firm is a shell. The shell is owned by another shell. The final owner is a man named Elliot Vance. Ava went still. Say that name again. Jansen looked at her. Elliot Vance, ma'am. Jansen. Yes, ma'am. Elliot Vance is on the Senate Armed Services Committee. Yes, ma'am. Elliot Vance writes the oversight bills. Yes, ma'am. Elliot Vance. She stopped. Her hand went to her mouth. Bishop stepped forward. Kid, what? Bishop. What, Ava? That's the voice. What? On the secure line for 9 years. Every assignment, every kill. That's the voice, Bishop. The room went silent. Jansen looked at Bishop. Bishop looked at Ava. Reyes in the doorway sat down on a chair without meaning to. Ava, Bishop said, you're telling me a sitting United States Senator has been handing you target packages? Yes. For 9 years? Yes. On the same line that writes the oversight rules for the programs that would catch him? Yes, Bishop. Jesus Christ. Now, do you understand why I came in hot? Yes. Now, do you understand why I made sure my mother saw my face? Yes, kid. Yes. Diane from the chair said quietly, Ava. Ava turned. Mama. This man, the one on the phone. Yes, Mama. Did he know your name? Yes, Mama. Did he know how old you were when he gave you the first order? Yes, Mama. Ava. Yes, Mama. How old were you for the first one? Ava couldn't answer for a second. Then 17, Mama, 2 weeks after they took me. Diane made a sound. It wasn't crying. It was a sound that came out of a mother who had just learned that the man who took her child had still been shaking hands on television for 9 years. She stood up. She walked over to her daughter. She took Ava's face in her hands again, both hands firm the way she had held it 5 minutes ago on the tarmac, and she said very slowly, very clearly, you are going to put that man on trial. Mama. Ava Marie, you are going to put that man on trial. You are going to stand up in a room with him in it. You are going to look at him, and you are going to tell a jury what he did to my 17-year-old. Mama, he has resources. I don't care. Mama, he will try to kill me. Let him try. Mama, let him try Ava. Ava looked at her mother, and for the first time since she was 17 years old, she looked at somebody whose orders she actually wanted to follow. Yes, ma'am, she whispered. Good. Diane stepped back. Bishop cleared his throat. Kid, if that's true, if it's really Vance on the other end of that line, we're not doing this on base. We're not doing this on my authority. This has to go federal. Tonight, right now. I know. I'm calling the Bureau. I know. I'm also calling the Inspector General. I know. And I'm calling Senator Harmon. Ava's head came up. Harmon. Vance is opposite on the committee. Has hated Vance for 11 years. Would cut off his own hand to watch Vance walk out of the Capitol in bracelets. Bishop? Yeah. Do it. Bishop picked up the phone. Jansen leaned in. Sir, one more thing. What? Sacramento PD just called back. And units arrived at 2847 Linden Crescent 6 minutes ago. The family is alive. The house is secure. And, sir, they intercepted a vehicle 3 blocks away. 2 men inside, armed. Not local. Tell me they're in custody. In custody, sir. Tell me somebody's being read their rights. Somebody's being read their rights, sir. Bishop set the phone down for a second. He put one hand on the desk to steady himself. Ava was looking at the floor. Diane was looking at Ava. Ava said without raising her head, "I just made the call 7 minutes ago." "Yeah." "They were already in the neighborhood." "Yeah, kid." "So Hawk called them before I ever opened my mouth." "Yeah." "So the hit was already live before I ever landed." "Yeah." "So the whole plan tonight was to put me in the cockpit, let me talk, and use me for cover while they did it anyway." "Kid, they were going to kill that man's family while I was confessing." "Ava." "And blame it on me." "Ava, stop." Bishop, he was going to be dead by midnight. His wife, their kids, all of them. Because of me. "No, because of them." She shook her head. "It's the same thing, okay? It is not the same thing, Ava." "Bishop, I spent 9 years telling myself the difference. And tonight I walked onto this base and almost got 4 people killed in Sacramento, and I had done telling myself the difference." Diane put a hand on her daughter's arm. "Ava, Mama, you did not kill them. You saved them. You understand me? Mama, you saved them, baby, with a phone call. You saved a man's family tonight. That's what a person does. That is what my daughter did." Ava breathed in, breathed out. She nodded. Bishop picked up the phone again. He dialed. He waited. He spoke. "Senator Harmon, this is Colonel Anthony Bishop, Kirtland, Arizona Air Force Base. I am calling you on a matter of national security at," he looked at the clock, 22:47 Mountain Time. "I have a witness in my office. A pilot, 26 years old. She has been operating under a false death certificate for 9 years under direct orders from a member of your committee. She is willing to testify. She has evidence. And there is an active kill order on her that I believe originates from the same office." A pause. Bishop closed his eyes. "Yes, Senator, Ava Carter." Another pause. "Yes, sir, the one on the wall." Another pause. Longer. Bishop's jaw worked. Then, "Thank you, Senator. I'll have her on a plane by 0300. He hung up. He turned to Ava. "He's sending a team, armed federal agents, here by dawn. You fly to D.C. at first light. You testify in closed session by noon." Bishop? "Yeah. You trust him." "I've known him 31 years. He was my wingman in 94. He cried at my wife's funeral." "Okay. Kid, he also said something I think you need to hear." "What?" "He said, tell that girl her country owes her a debt it can never pay, and we are going to start paying it tonight." Ava's mouth moved but didn't make a word. Diane put an arm around her daughter's waist. "Say thank you, Ava." "Thank you, Senator." "Good." Bishop looked at all of them. His office, Frank in the doorway with a torque wrench still in his hand because he had forgotten he was holding it. Ethan standing behind his mother. Reyes slumped in a chair with one hand over his mouth. A young MP whose name he didn't even know standing guard. And in the middle of it all, 26-year-old woman in a dirty flight suit who had been dead for 9 years and was now somehow standing in his office and going to bring down a United States senator. Bishop took a breath. "All right," he said, "let's get her to dawn." Getting her to dawn turned out to be the hardest 5 hours of Colonel Bishop's career. The first hour went fast because nobody stopped moving. Bishop had Ava escorted to the secure medical bay, not because she needed a doctor, but because it was the only room on base with reinforced walls that wasn't the tower. 2 MPs on the door. The young one whose name turned out to be Corporal Salazar took point. Diane and Ethan refused to leave her side. Reyes posted himself outside the door. Frank Doyle, 71 years old, sat down in a folding chair across the hallway and announced he wasn't moving until sunrise, and Bishop didn't argue with him. The second hour was quieter, and quiet was worse. Ava sat on the edge of the exam table. Her mother sat next to her. For a long time, neither of them said anything. Ava had taken off the flight suit and was wearing a base-issued sweatshirt 2 sizes too big. Her hair was still flat from the helmet. "Mama." "Yes, baby." "I don't know what to say to you." "You don't have to say anything tonight." "I feel like I should." "Ava, listen, you can have the rest of our lives to say things." Ava's throat closed. "Ethan?" "Yeah." "You're a paramedic." "Yeah." "I read about your graduation on a burner laptop in a room with no windows." I cried. Ethan sat down on the exam table on her other side. "I'm sorry," she said. "Stop. I'm sorry I missed everything." "Ava, stop. I missed your graduation. I missed Mom's surgery. I missed Dad's headstone going in. You put the headstone in without me." "Ava, you did it alone." "I wasn't alone. Mom was there." "She shouldn't have had to be." "Ava, I swear to God, if you apologize one more time, I'm going to hug you, and I am bad at hugging." A wet laugh came out of her. Okay, okay. She reached for his hand. He gave it. They sat there. Outside the door, Reyes was pacing. Bishop came around the corner. Mark, Colonel, stop pacing. I can't. I know, but stop. Reyes stopped. He put both hands on his hips. He stared at the floor. Tony, yeah, I signed her off that night. I know you did. I'm the one who cleared her for the solo. I'm the one who told the investigators afterward that her paperwork was clean. I'm the one who stood at that podium at the memorial and told her mother her daughter was the bravest student I ever taught. Mark, I'm the reason she got on that plane. Mark, you listen to me. Tony, you listen. She got on that plane because she was the best pilot in her class. That's it. That's the whole story on your end. The rest of it was Hawk and Vance and whoever else is in that building in D.C. You did not put her in that cockpit. They stole her out of it. Tony, I'm not going to let you do this to yourself for a second 9 years. Hear me, Reyes nodded. He didn't trust his voice. Inside the medical bay, Ava's head came up. Mama, what baby? I need to tell you something. Okay. I need you to hear it before anyone else. Okay? Ava swallowed. In the last 9 years, I was ordered to kill 11 people. I said no to 2 of them. 9 of them I did. Diane didn't flinch. I killed 9 people, Mama. Okay. I was told they were threats. Some of them probably were. I don't know how many. I don't know if any of them were innocent. I don't know how many families Ava. Mama, I need you to hear me. I'm hearing you. Do you still want me to stand up in that room tomorrow? Diane looked at her daughter for a long time. Yes, Mama. Ava, I've been a mother for 34 years. I've had 2 children. I loved you both before you were born, and I'll love you both after I'm gone. I don't know what they made you do. I don't have to know yet. But I know what you did tonight. You came home. You came home to tell the truth in front of your mother. And tomorrow you are going to tell it in front of the people who can act on it. That is who my daughter is. That is who I raised. Do you hear me? Yes, Mama. Ava, yes. If you tell me tomorrow morning that you can't get on that plane, I will stand between you and that plane. But until then, you are getting on it. Yes, Mama. Ethan softly, Mom. Yeah. I love you. I love you too, baby. The 3rd hour brought a knock on the door. Bishop. Ava. Yeah, we've got a problem. Everyone in the room turned. The news is picking it up. Ava stared. How? Somebody on base filmed the jet. Bishop. I know. It's already out. Local Albuquerque station. They haven't got your name yet, but they have footage of a jet taxiing at a memorial on a base that's supposed to be closed to operations at this hour. It's going to go national inside the hour. And the minute it does, every eye in Washington is looking at it. Including Vance's. Including Vance's. Ava closed her eyes. He's going to move on me tonight. He already tried. He'll try again. Yeah, he will. Bishop. Yeah. Get my mother off this base. Ava, Diane. Ava, no. Mama, please. I said no. Mama, if he can't get to me, he'll get to you. He knows where you live. He's known for 9 years. Bishop cleared his throat. Ava, I already moved on that. 20 minutes ago. What? There's a bureau detail on your mother's house in Tucson and your brother's apartment in Phoenix as of 15 minutes ago. Ethan, what? Son, I'm sorry I didn't ask first. I didn't have time. Diane, hand over her mouth. Thank you, Tony. Diane, don't thank me yet. The 4th hour was when it started to crack. It came in the form of another knock. This time it was Jansen. Sir, Bishop, you need to come see this. Bishop followed him down the hall. Reyes came too. Ava stood up from the exam table. I'm coming, kid. I'm coming, Bishop. He didn't argue. The tower was lit up. Every screen. Jansen pointed at the center monitor. Sir, the news just broke a second story. What story? Sir, they're saying a United States senator is being investigated in connection with a leaked intelligence scandal at a Southwest Air Force base. Bishop went still. Who leaked it? Sir, I don't know. Jansen. Sir, I don't know. The story's source is anonymous, but it's Vance. They're naming Vance. Ava stared at the screen. Bishop. Yeah, the drives. What about them? I dropped them to 3 journalists, 2 senators, and a federal judge. And the widow. Yeah, one of them moved fast. Which one? I don't know, but somebody moved very fast. Kid, that's a good thing. Bishop, it's also a tell. What? Vance will know now that the leak came from me. Before he might have thought it was Hawk trying to flip. Now he knows it's me. He has confirmation. 10 minutes ago, it was a possibility. Right now, it's a fact. Bishop's jaw tightened. Kid, the bureau team is 20 minutes out. I know. We can hold 20 minutes. Bishop, what? Vance doesn't need 20 minutes. He needs one phone call. Jansen spoke up. Sir, perimeter, Southgate. What? Sir, a vehicle is approaching at high speed, not slowing down. Military, civilian, black SUV, no plates visible. Who authorized it? Nobody, sir. It's running the gate. Bishop grabbed the mic. All personnel, we have a possible hostile vehicle approaching the south gate. Lock down the base. Armed response to the south gate now. Civilians to the nearest reinforced structure. This is not a drill. Sirens started across the base. Ava turned to Bishop. Get my family into the medical bay. It's reinforced. Salazar is already on the door. Reyes, you take the hall. Frank, he's a non-combatant. Put him inside with them. Bishop stared. Kid, you just gave 3 direct orders. Yeah. On my base. Yeah, Bishop. Carry on. Thank you. She was already moving. Ava, where are you going? I'm going to the runway. The hell you are. Bishop, if that vehicle is here for me, the last place I want it to go is near my mother. Ava, you're our witness. Exactly. What does that mean? It means they're not going to shoot to kill yet. Not if they think there's any chance I've got more drives that haven't dropped. They're going to try to grab me, alive, to find out what else is out there. That buys us time. Ava, that's insane. Bishop, I've been doing this for 9 years. Trust me. Ava. 20 minutes, Bishop. I just need to pull them 20 minutes. She was halfway to the stairs. Reyes stepped in front of her. Kid. Mark. You are not doing this alone. Mark, you haven't flown in. I'm not flying. I'm going with you. On foot. I'm 62. I'm a bad shot. I've got a bum knee and I'm going with you anyway. Mark. Shut up, kid. He walked her down the stairs. Bishop behind them grabbed the mic again. All units, this is Bishop. Ghost 17 is moving across the flight line, on foot. With Colonel Reyes, they are friendly. Repeat, friendly. Anyone puts a weapon in their direction without my explicit order, they will answer to me personally. Copy. Radios crackled back. Copy, sir. Copy. Copy. The SUV hit the south gate. It didn't stop. It went through. 2 security trucks were on it immediately. The SUV swerved around them. The driver was good. Better than good. Out on the tarmac, Ava was jogging across concrete she'd walked 90 minutes ago. The base PA was still sounding. Reyes was beside her. He was breathing hard. He didn't complain. Mark. Yeah. When this is over. Yeah. I want you to teach again. Kid. I want you back into the cockpit. Ava, I'm 62. I know how old you are. I've been retired 4 years. I don't care. Kid. Mark, please. When this is over. Teach again. There are 17-year-olds in this country who deserve an instructor pilot who actually gives a damn whether they come home. Reyes's throat worked. Okay, kid. Promise me. I promise. Good. They hit the edge of the flight line. The SUV was 300 yards away, still inside the perimeter, still moving, still being chased. Ava stopped. She turned to face it. Reyes, kid, what are you doing? I'm making sure they see me. Ava. I need them to see me, Mark. She raised her arms. Both of them. Out. Wide. Standing there in a base sweatshirt and an old flight suit. 26 years old, 100 yards from a jet she'd stolen back from her own death, with her arms spread like a woman inviting the world to take the shot. The SUV slowed. Just a little. Not much. But enough. Because the driver could see her. Mark. Yeah. Step back. Ava, no. Step back, Mark. I mean it. Whatever they have in that car, it's for me, not you. Don't make them use it on you. Kid. Step back. He stepped back. 4 feet, 5. He didn't want to. He did it anyway. The SUV kept coming, 200 yards, 150, and then Bishop's voice from the tower in her ear because somebody had clipped a radio to her sweatshirt without her noticing. Ghost 17. Bishop. Drop. What? Drop Ava. She dropped. She didn't ask why. 9 years of training, 9 years of doing what the voice in her ear said the instant it said it, and she dropped flat to the concrete. A second later, two base security trucks angled out from the hangars at full speed and broadsided the SUV. It rolled. Twice. It came to rest on its roof 40 yards from where Ava was lying on the tarmac. The doors didn't open. Security teams swarmed, weapons up, shouting. The driver and two passengers were pulled out. None of them resisted. Two were unconscious. One was cursing in a language Ava recognized and hadn't heard since her third year in the program. Reyes ran over and dragged her up. Kid, you hit. No, I'm good. You sure? I'm sure. Bishop's voice again, now shaking. Ava, talk to me. I'm up, Bishop. Jesus Christ, kid. I'm up. The driver. What about him? He has an ID on him. Whose? You're not going to like it. Bishop. Kid. Whose? A long pause. Then it's Hawk. Ava's head snapped toward the hangar line. Bishop, you told me Hawk was in custody. He was. Bishop. He was in the sheriff's car 40 minutes ago. Bishop. I don't know how he got out, kid. I don't know yet. Somebody let him walk. Somebody on my side let him walk. Somebody did. Bishop, somebody inside the federal response just helped him. Kid, I know. The bureau team. I'm checking. Bishop, check now. I'm on it. Get back inside. Reyes had her arm. Kid, come on. Mark. Come on. They moved. Fast. The base was still in lockdown. Sirens. Shouting. Two more trucks had boxed the SUV. Three men were being marched away in cuffs. Ava didn't look at Hawk. She couldn't. She'd look at him later in a courtroom, and that was the only place she was going to look at his face ever again. Back in the tower, Bishop was on 3 phones at once. Jansen pulled the names of every federal officer currently en route to this base. Every name. I want AIDs verified independent of the Bureau's own system. Call Harmon's office direct. Sir. What? Sir Senator Harmon is on the line. Right now. Patch him. Bishop grabbed the phone. Senator. A voice crisp and tight. Colonel, we have a problem. Yes, sir, we do. The team I sent you, one of them is compromised. I'm listening. I just got a flag from a friend at Justice. One of the agents on that detail has a past connection to a private contractor that has received payments from a firm on K Street. The firm is a shell owned by another shell. The final owner, Vance. Vance, everybody. Which agent? Team lead, Special Agent Dan Keller. Bishop closed his eyes. Senator, he's 40 minutes out. I know. What do you want me to do? I've dispatched a second team, independent, from Denver. They'll get to you in 90. Senator, that's too long. Colonel, it's the fastest I can move. The first team is already in the air. I can't turn them around without tipping Keller off. If he knows the jig is up, he'll disappear before we can arrest him, and we lose him. I need him to walk onto your base thinking he's still running the play. Senator, he's going to try to take her. Yes, he is. And you want me to let him land? Colonel, I want you to let him land, let him walk in, and let him put his hands in the air when you read him his rights. I want him alive, and I want him in a federal courtroom next month. Bishop looked through the glass of the tower down at the flight line where Ava and Reyes were making their way back across the concrete. Senator? Yes. She's 26 years old. I know. She's been running from men like Keller for 9 years. I know, Tony. If anything happens to her between now and dawn, it won't, Tony. I swear to you on my life, it won't. Bishop hung up. Jansen was staring at him. Sir, what did he say? He said the first team is dirty. Sir, what do we do? Bishop looked at the clock. 3:47. He looked at the window. The horizon was still black. He keyed the base PA. All personnel, this is Bishop. The vehicle incident at the south gate has been contained. I want perimeter resecured, all gates closed, and no aircraft friendly or otherwise cleared to land on this base until my direct authorization. A federal response team is en route. When they arrive, they are to be directed to the command building only. Nobody approaches Ghost 17 without my personal sign-off. That is an absolute. Copy. Radios came back. Jansen leaned in. Sir, you're about to tell a federal team to stand down on their own witness. Yes, I am. On a hunch from a senator. On more than a hunch. Sir, that's not a small thing. Jansen, that girl is 26 years old, and she walked across my tarmac with her arms open 90 seconds ago because she thought it would buy her mother 20 minutes. I am not handing her to anyone whose name I can't verify. Yes, sir. Go verify the second team. Denver, call Harmon's chief of staff direct. Make sure it's really from him. On it, sir. Down in the medical bay, Ava walked back in. Diane stood up. Baby, I'm okay. Your knees. I dove. Ava, you're bleeding. A little. Ethan was already moving. He pulled a kid off the wall. Sit. Ethan, I'm fine. I said sit, Ava. I'm a paramedic. Sit down. She sat down. He started cleaning her knees. Frank from the corner cleared his throat. Flyer. Frank. I saw what you did out there. Frank. On the radio, I heard Bishop say drop. I heard you drop. Frank, you did good, kid. Frank, shut up. I'm trying not to cry. You go ahead and cry. Nobody in here is going to hold it against you. She put her face in her hands. Ethan kept working on her knees. Diane put a hand on her daughter's shoulder and just held it there. Nobody said anything for a while. Then Reyes in the doorway quietly. Bishop says the first federal team is compromised. Diane's head came up. What? Senator Harmon flagged one of the agents. He's sending a second team out of Denver. 90 minutes. Mark. Yeah. We have to hold her for 90 minutes with dirty agents on approach. Yeah. In this building. Yeah. Against a vehicle that already ran the gate once. Diane Bishop has this. Mark. Diane, I trust him. I have trusted him 30 years. He has this. Diane turned to her daughter. Ava. Yeah, Mama. I want to tell you something. Okay. When you were 7 years old, you broke your wrist falling out of the mulberry tree in the backyard. I remember. You didn't cry. I remember, Mama. You walked into the kitchen holding your arm and you looked at me and you said, Mama, I think I need a doctor. And then you passed out. I don't remember the passing out part. No, you wouldn't. But I do. I remember every second of it. I drove you to the ER and I watched them set your wrist and I sat there while you were still out. And I told your father when he got home that night, that girl is going to walk into every hard thing in her life exactly the same way. Calm, quiet, not asking for anything she doesn't need. Ava's eyes filled. Mama, I was right. Mama, you walked out of that cockpit tonight exactly the same way. Mama, and you are going to walk into that courtroom in Washington exactly the same way. Yes, Mama. Ava, yes. Your father would be so proud of you. Ava broke. She put her arms around her mother and she broke quietly the way she had broken everything her whole life, without noise, without show, without asking anything of anybody. She just held on. Diane held her back. And out on the edge of the flight line, the first lights of a Bureau jet appeared in the eastern sky an hour ahead of schedule. A landing that had not been cleared by Colonel Bishop and Jansen in the tower turned to Bishop with a face as pale as paper. Sir, that's Keller. I see him. He's landing anyway. I see him, Jansen. Sir, orders. Bishop looked at the clock. 4:11. The Denver team was 80 minutes out. He picked up the mic. All base security, all weapons, full perimeter on the east apron. That aircraft does not disembark a single passenger without my physical presence on the tarmac. I will meet it myself. Nobody moves toward Ghost 17's location without my voice. Mine. Not a radio, not a relay. My voice in the room. Copy. Radios came back. Copy, copy, copy. Bishop stood up. He took his sidearm out of the drawer. He hadn't worn it in 6 years. He strapped it on, turned to Johnson and said, if I'm not back by the time Denver lands, you get her on that Denver plane and you do not let anyone stop you. Sir. Say it, Johnson. I will not let anyone stop me, sir. Good. Bishop walked out of the tower. Bishop walked out of the tower with his sidearm on his hip and a cold, steady calm in his chest that he hadn't felt since the Gulf. By the time he hit the east apron, the Bureau jet was already down. 4 agents coming down the stairs. Suits, earpieces, polished shoes. The man in front was late 40s, graying at the temples, clean-shaven, smiling. Colonel Bishop, Special Agent Keller. Agent, we're here for the witness. We're not doing this here, Keller. Excuse me. We're doing this in my command building, under my cameras, with my base counsel present. You can have your conversation with her there, and then if everything checks out, you can take her wheels up from my runway at 0600. Keller's smile stayed on. Colonel, with respect, we have federal jurisdiction. You do. We're authorized to take custody immediately. You are. Then, Keller, with respect back. I have a 26-year-old witness in a reinforced building. I have had 1 hostile vehicle breach my south gate tonight. I have had 1 deputy commander arrested, released, and then recaptured at my south gate. I am not handing her to anyone federal military or otherwise on a flight line in the dark. Keller's smile got a little tighter. Colonel, who told you to stall us? Nobody. Senator Harmon told you to stall us. Senator Harmon and I served together in '94. We're old friends. We've been catching up tonight about a lot of things. Keller was no longer smiling. Colonel, this is obstruction. Agent Keller, this is my base. The three agents behind Keller had spread just slightly, not an aggressive move, just a positioning move. Bishop caught it. So did every base MP on the apron, and every one of them had their weapons slung at the ready. Bishop raised his voice, not loud, level. Agent Keller, I am going to ask you once. I want you and your team to come with me to my command building unarmed and sit down with our base counsel and Senator Harmon's chief of staff, who is on a live line right now. If you do that, we're going to get your witness to Washington by dawn, and no one has a problem. If you don't do that, I'm going to place you in temporary detention pending identity verification, and I am going to do it on a tarmac in front of 30 of my people. Your call. Keller looked at him. Keller looked at the MPs. Keller looked at the sky behind Bishop like he was measuring how long until sunrise. Then he said very quietly, Colonel, there's something you should know. What? There are 2 jets incoming. No, there aren't. Yes, Colonel, there are. One of mine, one of his. Mine was first. His is 80 minutes out. But he doesn't know about the third. Bishop's jaw set. Say that again. There's a 3rd jet, Colonel, private, not logged, not scheduled. It's coming in low from the north. Should be on your board in about 6 minutes. Whose? Vance's. Bishop stared at him. Keller. Yes. Why are you telling me this? Keller's mouth worked. Because I thought I was going to walk her off this base and hand her to them quietly. That was the plan. That was the plan 2 hours ago. But I've been standing here for 30 seconds and I've watched you. And I watched you mean every word you just said. And I've got a daughter, Colonel. She's 15. And somewhere in there between the plane ride and walking down those stairs, I realized that if I hand you the girl in that building, my daughter's going to find out what her father is someday. Bishop didn't move. Keller. Yes, sir. You were telling me you were sent here to kill her. Not kill, grab. They wanted her alive for 48 hours until they could find out who else she'd given the drives to after that kill. You were going to do it. I was going to do it, Colonel. What changed? You did, sir, and she did. I saw the footage from the memorial on the flight in. I saw her mother on the tarmac. I saw her put her hand on the canopy. I have a daughter, sir. Bishop looked at him for a long time. Then he said, Keller, walk with me, hands where I can see them. Your team stays here. The MPs will secure them peacefully. If any of them resist, that's on you. Yes, sir. Walk. Keller walked. 6 minutes later, Bishop was back in the tower with Keller in cuffs, his own cuffs at Keller's request, and Jansen was staring at him like he'd come back from the dead. Sir. Jansen. Sir, you were gone 11 minutes. Feels longer. Sir, the 3rd jet. I know. Sir, it's on the board, 4 minutes out. Private, Vance himself, sir. Bishop closed his eyes for 1 second, then opened them. He's coming himself. Sir, it looks like it. Why? Keller in the corner cuffed, because he doesn't trust anyone anymore, Colonel. Because he knows the drive's dropped, and he knows I haven't called in, and the only card he has left is to land here himself and try to talk to her face to face before this turns into a trial. He's going to offer her a deal, Colonel. A personal one. From him. In his voice. The voice she's heard for 9 years. He thinks she'll fold when she hears it in person. Bishop turned. She won't. I know she won't, sir. He doesn't. Bishop was moving again, down the stairs, radio in his hand. All personnel, 3rd aircraft inbound, private, tail number to follow. I want it escorted to the east apron gated on 3 sides by ground vehicles. No one disembarks until I am personally present. Repeat, personally present. MPs to the command building. Nobody gets within 50 yards of Ghost 17's location. Jansen verified Denver's ETA. Denver is 62 minutes out, sir. Too long. Yes, sir. We do this ourselves. Yes, sir. In the medical bay, Diane heard the sirens change pitch, and she stood up. Something's happening. Ray is in the doorway. 3rd aircraft. Whose? Vance's, ma'am. Diane's face did something Ava had never seen on her mother's face before. He's here. Yes, ma'am. On this base. Yes, ma'am. Ava. I heard, Mama. Ava. Yes, Mama. I want to see him. Ava stood up off the exam table. Mama, no. I want to see his face. Mama, you can't. You can't be in the same room with him. It'll compromise the case. It'll compromise everything. Ava, he stole you from me. Mama. At 17, Ava. I know. I want to see his face. Mama, please listen to me. You will see his face. I promise you. In a courtroom. In 3 weeks. In 6 weeks. In 3 months. Whenever they seat the jury, you will sit in the front row and you will look at him every single day of that trial. I promise you, Mama. But not tonight. Not on this base. Not tonight. Diane's jaw worked. Then she nodded once. Ava. Yes. You look at him for me tonight. Mama. You look at him for both of us tonight. Because one of us has to. Ava swallowed. Yes, Mama. Outside, the third jet touched down. Bishop was on the tarmac before the stairs dropped. Vance came down them alone. 63 years old. Gray suit. No coat. Hands in his pockets. He saw the MPs. He saw Bishop. He did not look surprised. Colonel? Senator. I'd like to speak with her. No. It's in your interest, Colonel. Senator, you are on a United States Air Force base you did not get clearance to land on. You are under investigation. There are federal agents 30 minutes behind you who are coming to arrest you. You can stand on my tarmac and wait for them, or you can sit in my command building and wait for them. You are not speaking with her. Colonel, Senator, let me be very clear. Anything you say on this tarmac is on the record. Anything you say in the building is on the record. There is no off the record with me. You lost that option when you sent a team to kill her tonight. Vance was quiet. Then, Colonel, I want to make a statement. You have the right to remain silent. I don't want to remain silent, Colonel. Bishop looked at him. Go ahead. I want her to hear it. No. Colonel. Senator, no, she is not coming out here. You can say what you want, and my people will record it, and she can listen to it later. Vance closed his eyes. Fine. He looked into the middle distance, past Bishop, past the MPs, at a jet that had flown 9 years of missions without his fingerprints on any of them. I want her to know that I thought I was protecting this country. Every order, every assignment, every name. I want her to know I thought I was doing the right thing. Bishop didn't say anything. I want her to know I never forgot her age. Bishop's jaw moved. Senator. Yes. Stop talking. Colonel. Senator. Stop talking. I swear on my dead wife, if you say one more word about that girl's age to me on this tarmac, you will be picking teeth off my concrete. Vance stopped talking. They waited. 37 minutes later, the Denver team landed. Clean, verified. Senator Harmon on the line the whole way down. Vance was taken into federal custody on a tarmac in Arizona at 5:04 in the morning. Keller was transferred into the same custody, already cooperating, already naming names. Hawk, recaptured for the second time in 8 hours, was flown east on the same jet. And at 6:30, an hour after sunrise, a separate aircraft lifted off the same runway, carrying Ava Carter, her mother, her brother, Colonel Reyes Frank Doyle, and Corporal Salazar, who had refused to stand down from her detail and whom Bishop had personally reassigned. They flew to Washington. The closed session lasted 11 hours. She walked in at noon. She walked out at 11 that night. Harmon met her at the door. Ava, Senator, you did it, kid? I know. You want to rest. I want to see my mother. She's right down the hall. She went down the hall. Diane was there. They didn't say anything for a while. In the weeks that followed, the country learned a name it had not known the day before. It learned it in stages. First the jet on the tarmac, then the memorial, then the drives, then the hearings, then the trial. Vance's trial took 11 weeks. Ava testified for 9 days. She wore a dark suit. Her hair was pulled back. She did not cry on the stand. She did not cry during cross. She cried once briefly when the prosecutor asked her to describe the last conversation she had with her father before her death. And she answered the question, and then she took a sip of water, and then she kept going. Diane sat in the front row every single day. So did Reyes. So did Frank Doyle, who had taken the bus from Arizona to Washington and refused to let the government pay for his flight. On the day the verdict came down, Ava was not in the courtroom. She had asked not to be. She was in a hotel room 3 blocks away with her mother, and when her brother called, she answered on the first ring. Ava. Ethan. Guilty. All counts. She closed her eyes. Ava, I heard you. You okay? Yeah, you sure? Hey? Yeah, Ethan, I'm sure. She hung up. Her mother was watching her from the chair by the window. Ava. Mama. What does it feel like? Ava thought for a long time. Quiet, Mama. Quiet? Yeah, just quiet. Diane nodded. It was good. There was a lot of noise after that. Network interviews, book offers, movie offers. A senator resigned. A deputy commander took a plea and got 18 years. Keller got 12 and lost his pension. 3 other names were added in the second round of indictments. 2 of them had stars on their shoulders. One of them had been shaking the president's hand at a ceremony 6 months earlier. Ava said no to all of the interviews. She said no to the book offers. She said no to the movies. She said yes to one thing. She went back to the base. She went back on a Tuesday morning in October with her mother in the passenger seat and Reyes in the back, and she drove through the main gate with her own ED, which had been reissued in her own name for the first time in 9 years. Bishop met her at the gate. Kid. Bishop. Welcome home. Thanks, Bishop. He walked her to the tower. In a small office on the second floor, there was a new desk, a nameplate on it. Captain Ava Carter, instructor pilot. She looked at it for a long moment. Bishop. Kid. I haven't been in the cockpit since that night. I know. I don't know if I can. Kid, nobody's asking you to fly tomorrow, or next month, or next year. This office is for when you're ready. Until then, you teach ground school. You teach young ones how to think, how to ask questions, how to say no when the voice in the headset tells them to do something wrong. Bishop. Yeah. There are 17-year-olds in this program. I know. I don't want any of them to end up like me. Kid, that's why I need you in this office. She sat down at the desk. She put her hands flat on it. She breathed. Okay, she said. Okay, Bishop. Reyes was in the doorway. Kid. Mark. I told you I'd teach again. Yeah. Next office. What? Bishop gave me the next office over. Hadn't been in a cockpit in 4 years. Now I'm the senior instructor pilot on this base. It's ridiculous. Ava laughed. First real laugh. Mark. Yeah. Thank you. Kid, don't thank me. You thank the 26-year-old who asked me to. They stood there. Diane came up the stairs behind them. She was slow on stairs these days. She'd aged 10 years in the 3 months since Arizona, not from grief anymore, but from how hard she'd fought every day in that courtroom. She didn't apologize for the slow stairs. Neither did anyone else. Ava. Mama. I saw your name on the wall. Mama. Downstairs. They left it up. I know. Do you want it taken down? Ava thought about it a long time. No, Mama. Leave it. Baby. Leave it, Mama. Because I was gone. Something of me was gone. I'm not the same person who went up in that jet at 17. That girl doesn't come back all the way. Some of her stayed in a safe house in the desert, and some of her stayed in a room with no windows in Virginia, and some of her stayed in a hallway outside a journalist's house in Sacramento. She's gone, Mama. Part of her stay's gone, and that's who the name on the wall is for. Not for me, for her. Diane was quiet. Then okay, baby. Okay. Okay. Ava stayed. She taught ground school that fall. She taught flight the next spring. Her first student was a 17-year-old girl from rural Nebraska named Marisol Delgado, who had aced every written exam and was terrified of the cockpit. Ava walked her through the first sortie on the ground. Delgado. Captain. Listen to me. Yes, ma'am. In that jet, you are going to hear voices in your headset. Mine, the towers, your wingman's eventually. You are going to trust most of them. Most of the time. Do you understand? Yes, ma'am. And one day, Delgado, you might hear a voice that asks you to do something that feels wrong. Yes, ma'am. If that happens, I don't care who it is. I don't care what rank they have. I don't care what the reason is. You key your mic and you say again, and you make them say it twice. And if it still feels wrong the second time you land the bird and you come see me. Yes, ma'am. Do you understand me, Delgado? Yes, ma'am. Good. Get in the jet. Delgado got in the jet. Ava watched her take off. She stood on the tarmac for a long time after the wheels left the ground, one hand shielding her eyes against the sun, and she watched a 17-year-old girl fly her first solo on the same base where Ava's own solo had been stolen from her 9 years before. Diane came up beside her. Ava, Mama, she reminds me of you. I know. Is she going to be okay? Yes, Mama. How do you know? Ava watched the jet climb because she has an instructor who knows what to listen for. Diane put her arm through her daughter's. They stood there for a while. Frank Doyle came out of the hangar with a wrench in his hand and a face smudged with grease because Frank had come out of retirement 3 months ago when Bishop had casually mentioned over the phone that Captain Carter's new office was short one head mechanic. Flyer. Frank. She's gonna land soft. I know she is, Frank. I taught her bird, you know. I know, Frank. Same way I taught yours. I know. He stood next to them. 3 people. No words for a while. A young girl in a jet up in the sky. Bishop watched from the tower window. He had 6 months until retirement. He had already told Reyes he wasn't going anywhere. He had a captain in his tower he had read for dead 9 years ago, and he was going to spend the last 6 months of his command watching her build something new in the same building where she had once been erased. That night, Ava went home. Home now was a small house 10 minutes off base. Her mother was moving in at the end of the month. Ethan visited on weekends. Frank came for Sunday dinner and complained about the coffee. She sat on the back porch. She looked up at the skyway. The jets she could hear in the distance were not her jets anymore. They belonged to other pilots, young pilots. Delgado was up there somewhere in her head doing the same loop she'd done that morning, memorizing every switch. Ava looked up at the stars. She thought about the 17-year-old girl who had climbed into a cockpit one August evening, thinking she was going home for lasagna. She thought about the 26-year-old woman who had climbed out of the same cockpit 9 years later and walked to her mother across a tarmac. She thought about the part of her that was still gone and would stay gone. She thought about the part of her that had come back, and then she said out loud to no one, "I'm here." Nobody answered. She said it again, quieter. "I'm here." And this time it wasn't a confession, and it wasn't a testimony, and it wasn't a plea. It was a fact. Ava Carter was here. She had been dead, and now she was not. She had been a ghost, and now she was a teacher. She had been a weapon, and now she was a witness. She had been forgotten, and she had chosen with every hour of every day, from Arizona forward, to be remembered not for the missions that no one would ever know, but for the young pilots who would walk onto a flight line under her watch and come home every single night of their careers because she had taught them how to listen for the wrong voice. Her name stayed on the memorial wall, but underneath it a new plaque went up in the tower, and it read, "Captain Ava Carter, returned, teaching." That was the whole inscription. That was all it needed to be. Because the most important battles are the ones no one sees, and the truest kind of courage is not being known. And some people disappear, not because they are gone, but because the world was not meant to see what they carried. And then sometimes against every odd and every order and every silence that was built around them, they come back and they stand up and they say their own name out loud, and they spend the rest of their lives making sure the next 17-year-old never has to disappear at all. Ava Carter came home, and this time she stayed.